path seems to take place in Africa in 1949. The protagonist of the story is Michael Obi, a young and energetic man who has been chosen to become headmaster of a school called Ndume Central School. We're told three things about Michael right away. 1, he's well educated. 2, he embraces modern ideas and condemns old ideas. And 3, he is married to a woman who is equally ambitious, but in social ways. So the plot begins when Michael tells his wife Nancy about the new position. After a slight disappointment, Nancy gets on board, and the two of them go to Ndume School. It's important to note that the narration of the story is third-person omniscient. So as readers, we are able to hear Nancy's thoughts and Michael's attitudes, but the narrator clearly seems more aligned with Nancy. When Michael and Nancy arrive at school, he describes it as backwards and sets 2 goals for improvement. First, he wants to cultivate a high standard of teaching. Second, he wants to beautify the campus. This is where Nancy comes in. Taking on a traditional woman's role, Nancy plants an incredible garden. And all is well until the day when Michael notices an old woman walking along a path through the school. And as the narrator informs us, he was scandalized. With very little regard to the history and significance of the path, Michael immediately sets about to close the path by installing heavy sticks and barbed wire. A few days later, the village priest comes by to implore Michael to remove the barrier. The priest explains that this path was here before you were born and before your father was born. The whole life of this village depends on it. Our dead relatives depart by it, and our ancestors visit us by it. But most important, it is the path of children coming in to be born. Clearly, the priest is appealing to Michael's sense of heritage and his respect for his ancestry and his past. But readers know that Michael does not respect his past. So true to form, Michael replies with logic, not emotion, calling the idea fantastic. For Michael, which is negative by the way, meaning related to fantasy, for Michael, if something can't be explained logically, it's fantasy, it's foolish. Hence, he refuses to reopen the path. The priest leaves Michael with this thought: I always say, let the hawk perch and let the eagle perch. This statement is important because it is most likely one of the themes of the story. The priest is trying to teach Michael about tolerance and coexistence. He is saying that when two different and disparate ideas exist, even when they're from two people of different status, a wise man should figure out a way to accommodate both views. It kind of makes me wish the priest would go talk to Mrs. Johnson in everyday use. In any case, Michael ignores this advice. 2 days later, a village woman dies in childbirth. The diviner, whose job it is to talk to the spirits to help people understand life, tells them that the dead ancestors felt insulted by the fence and that these ancestors require heavy sacrifices. We aren't told what happens next, but we do know that Michael wakes up the next morning to find that the grounds have been destroyed and one of the school buildings has been destroyed as well. That same day, the white supervisor comes to visit the school and writes a negative review, which describes a tribal war caused by Michael and his modern ways. The ending then is ironic because the white outsider has more sensitivity than Michael, a fellow black African, does. So what is the theme of this short story? What does Achebe want readers to know or learn? Well, there are several themes, both stated and implied, and we won't go through each one. That you should do on your own. But I can say that one theme, the one about tolerance, is clearly stated by the village priest. Now, if I were writing an essay on that theme, I would then put it into my own words, though. A second theme revolves around the topic of our past, our heritage. And we know that this was a topic that was raised in everyday use by Alice Walker. What do you think Achebe was telling us about how the past relates to the present? And yes, the artwork you're looking at does provide a hint. Finally, a third theme probably revolves around old ideas versus modern ones. Again, I'll leave it up to you to develop the actual theme statement. Another thought I want to leave you with is this idea of relevancy. This story was first published in 1953, and it's about Africans. Is it still relevant to modern readers? Absolutely. The villagers believed that dead men or spirits walked among the living at times. Well, some people still believe this. They may talk about having a dead grandmother or a dead relative who they believe watches over them. For others, the beliefs don't necessarily relate to the dead. However, they still have beliefs that can't be explained. Some people, for example, believe in lucky charms, like rabbit's feet or maybe a lucky shirt. I've had students refuse to take a test unless they had their lucky whatever. Other people immediately yell out, Gesundheit, or God bless you, if someone sneezes. Is this logical? What would Michael think? Growing up in the South, I heard many superstitions. If your ear is ringing, it means someone's talking about you. If your palm itches, it means you're going to get money. And if you put your purse on the floor, it means you're going to lose all your money. Logical? Probably not. But even very well-educated people will adhere to some of these ideas. And it isn't only Americans. My daughter studies Japanese culture in high school, and she tells me that in Japan, a bloody nose indicates that a person is lying. Wow. My point is that although Chinua Achebe wrote this story over 50 years ago, the ideas are still relevant today. Finally, I hope you see how theme correlates to other literary elements. Knowing that the story takes place in Africa in the late 1940s makes the plot and the superstitions a little more believable. So there's a connection between setting and theme and plot. Also, characterizing Michael as a lover of modern things sets us up for his failure, which is one of the themes. So there's a relationship between character and theme, too. Now, I could go on, but I won't. I'm Professor George, and this has been a discussion of theme and how it relates to Chinua Achebe's Dead Men's Path. Thank you for listening.